We're doing online. Special Mark from you. Mark created this one.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I don't see anybody here for the first time except our speakers. So Sunday mornings don't happen by accident. We have lots of planning. We have Mark, our puts everything online, our technology guy, and Cindy, who does all the planning and all that. We have Ann and Mary Ellen and Laura that do the hospitality, and I'm the platform host, Nora. And we will have somebody that can do prayer requests, the chaplain in the back to do after services. And so now we will do a on-way heart song.
Miss Aretha Franklin.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Myth.
So for our Red Heart welcome, and I know you guys received a Red Heart. If you're new today at Unity in Bremerton, we welcome you in the spirit of love. We want you to know no matter where you are on your journey of faith, you are always welcome here. We know that the world is a better place when we are willing to share our hearts. We give you this heart as a symbol of the steadfast spirit that lives within each of us, and we ask you to carry this symbol as a member of the Red Heart Fellowship. Let it be a reminder that the love of God is always with you and to share your heart wherever you go. The Red Heart, as a symbol of fellowship in the world, can spread love one heart at a time. Let's start the movement here. And for those that are visiting for the first time or watching for the first time online, We want you to know that our speakers are different every week, and so we would like you to join us several more times to get a feel for the diversity that we have and the different speakers. So now we're going to light the Christ candle, which represents the divine light within each of us. We'll say our mission statement together. We are
one community supporting our mutual quest for spiritual truth.
And our invocation.
There is one presence and one power active in the universe and in my life, God the good omnipotence.
So now it's time for handshakes and hugs, and we will keep it brief because we will have a longer fellowship afterwards to catch up on our week.
Last time I spilled
I'm looking for a hug.
I sit down a lot by accident. I'm not even gonna try to get over there, but I just send love that way. Send love that way.
Ready for your end? You never are, right? He said hi.
It isn't right, it isn't nice. Everybody says don't, everybody says don't, everybody says don't walk on the grass, don't disturb the peace, don't skate on the ice. Well, I say do, I say walk on the grass and don't you. I say sail. Children are with me, and if you fail, you fail. Everybody says don't, everybody says don't, everybody says get out of line. When they say that, then maybe that's a sign. 9 times out of 10, but you weren't doing just fine. Just a ripple, come on, be brave. This time a ripple, next time a wave. Sometimes you have to start small, climbing the tiniest wall. Maybe you're going to fall, but it's better than not starting at all. Everybody says no, everybody says stop, everybody says mustn't rock the boat, mustn't touch a thing. Everybody says don't, everybody says wait, everybody says can't fight City Hall, can't upset the cart, can't laugh at the king. Ah, well, I say try, I say laugh at the kings will make you cry. Lose your poise, fall if you have to, but honey, make a noise. Everybody says don't, everybody says can't, everybody says around for miracles. That's the way the world is made. I insist on miracles. If you do them, miracles, that they do them, I say don't be afraid.
Today's daily word is world peace. I am doing my part for world peace. Over and over, we are told that world peace begins with peace in our hearts. That's very good news. It means I can contribute to a world peace every day. I don't have to be a diplomat or a high-ranking government official to play a role in moving the planet towards peace. I only have to remember to choose peace in every situation. Peace is far more than refraining from physical violence. Peace is kinder thoughts and deeds. Peace is giving the benefit of the doubt. Peace is honesty and trust. Peace is even simple courtesy. Each time I see the face of God in another human being and treat that person accordingly, I contribute to world peace. From Colossians 3, verse 15, and let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts, to which indeed you were called in the one body, and be thankful. Today, I am doing my part for world peace, and God blesses us.
You say yes, I say no. You say stop, and I say go, go, go. Oh no. You say goodbye, and I say hello.
Everybody sing along with the wheel.
I don't know why you say goodbye, I say hello. Hello, hello. I don't know why you say goodbye, I say hello. I say hi, you say no, you say why, and I say I don't know. Oh no,
to talk with David Duvall when he gets here next time for not inviting us along to the beach when he made, right? Road trip to the beach next time. So Unity Happenings is next week on the 25th. Michael Bogart will be here with musician Dallas Talley. And then on September 1st, which happens to be Mark Stanton Welch's birthday, just sort of FYI, is Reverend Sherry Schultz with musicians Sally and Jamie. And then September 8th, our very own Margie Hyatt from Unity of Hawaii. She'll be in town. And then Michael Gregory will be our musician. Oh, that'll be a nice combination. And then on the 15th of September is Joanna Gabriel with Wheel doing the music. Another good combination. Of course, they're all good combinations. I mean, it's Unity of Bremerton. And then the 22nd of September is Simon DeVoyle from Unity of Port Townsend. That'd be interesting. I'm not familiar with him. And then on Thursdays here at the church, it's from 7 to 8, is our Course in Miracles. And that's an open class that you're all welcome to attend at any time. And we are having our membership drive time. So it's time to fill out the new forms to renew your membership. If you're not a member, please see Cindy to get the forms, and so we can do that. That just allows you to vote during the annual congregational meeting and any meetings we have that require a vote. And for it to count, you have to be registered, just like with the government. And so now it's time for our speaker, and so we go, after some wonderful music.
This is the story of a wingless bird. She lived with 3 ordinary birds in a cage, so I heard. Her home was the floor of the cage, and theirs high on the perch. But they would sing of the wonders they'd seen and they'd heard. And the wingless ones saw the wide world through their words. The cage was their prison, freedom was their fate. So the wingless one listened as the others' plans were made. One day the cage was open, the first bird escaped. He got chased around the house till he was caught, his dreams betrayed. That was the end of the first bird's escapade. She said, isn't it strange how in this day and age we lock up our hearts like birds in a cage? The second bird waited till the moment was right. He fled the cage out the front door and into the night. Into the wide open sky, oh, the sweet gift of flight. He flew back to get his friends, oh, follow me, I'll be your guide. That's when he hit the window, broke his wings and his pride. The third bird he watched as this all went on. He said escape is impossible, I'll stay here, but I'm gone. So his body remained, but his heart was withdrawn. He just sat on his perch, and he never sang his song. But no desire, no fear touched him from that moment on. She said, isn't it strange how in this day and age we lock up our hearts like birds in a cage? Knocked the lid off the cage last night. One bird got eaten, The others died of fright, except for the wingless one. She was alright. She stayed calm, though she knew she couldn't fly, couldn't fight. She just stood in the corner and stayed out of sight. The fourth bird, the wingless bird, never tried to flee. So the floor of the cage was all she'd ever see. She said, isn't it strange how in this day and age we rail against our lives like we're birds in a cage? Oh, wingless bird, that's all I will be. And the cats they come hunting, but they'll never find me, 'cause I live in this cage, but my soul flies free.
So let's give a big unity welcome to Roy Holman with Divine Will versus Free Will.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Let me know how this goes with the microphone. Some are different than others, so that feeling right?
Yeah.
Sound okay? Okay. That's probably not a coincidence that was right in line with our topic there about choosing. And what are you saying? Less, more?
Yeah, down just a little bit.
Down a little bit? Is that better?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Let me know. I'll keep in touch rather than suffer. I think we'll start with the meditation. It kind of sets the pace a little bit. So if you're comfortable getting your eyes closed. Just become aware of your feet on the floor, grounded, connected to Mother Earth. You kind of soften your face up, your eyes, your jaw. And just kind of relax into this beautiful present moment. You are breathing, which is a good thing, another day alive on earth. Let the breath be easy, natural, but deep, courageous, expansive. Talking about free choice today. Just let yourself choose to be here fully right now. Nowhere else, here now. And start to deepen the breath a little bit. We'll add a little pause at the end of the in-breath and a little pause at the end of the out-breath. So 4-part breathing. A deep in-breath with a pause for a second or two, and then a deep out breath with a pause for a second or two. And just honor whatever is going on right now as you do this 4-part breathing. Just welcome whatever feelings are there, whatever thoughts going through your mind, whatever physical sensations, welcoming everything, resisting nothing. Shoulders dropping. I'm going to do a little Om sound. You're welcome to join me, just to kind of align with something primal, something original, true self. Take a deep in-breath. So just take a moment now, just reflect without judgment, with compassion. Who does the choosing in your life? Where is the free will? Is your ego leading the show, making the decisions with old programming and old beliefs, old fears? All of us probably do to some extent. But then just kind of have fun. Reflect for a moment. What would your life look like if you were aligned with the divine? If your true self was guiding, maybe you call it intuition guiding, your heart guiding, aligned with your true self, your truth. What would your life look like and feel like if you were aligned with that flow, a bigger part of you choosing? How would that feel? What would that look like without the struggles with decisions? Just tapping into that deep intelligence. Just kind of play with that for a minute. Visualize that, feel that, invite that. You might even recall a time when you've done that, how that felt. And take a few more deep breaths, just kind of inviting that flow, that alignment with the universe, effortless, joyful, powerful, courageous. Sometimes the path of least resistance, sometimes not. Couple more deep breaths. When you're ready, you can allow yourself to open the eyes again. So, yeah, that was a nice little intro, that last song, about a lot of choices, huh? Stay in the cage, fly, don't. So, good morning. Thank you for having me. First time here. I didn't know that on the way over. I thought I was going to the same place I was at last time, but it was the wrong town. So I'm like, I don't know this place. So good to be here. Liz and I live in Everett, and we've been away for a week now. We've been leading a yoga, hiking, backpacking trip through the Olympics around the whole peninsula. So beautiful. What a place we live in, huh? So we're just heading home today. It's our last stop. So it's kind of cool in a way when I pick a speaking of choice, when I choose a topic to speak about, whether at Unity or wherever else, it kind of takes over, doesn't it? And some of you who know when you speak, it's in a way it's selfish. I choose it knowing I don't have to know anything about it, because I start getting these kind of downloads and stuff starts showing up, information and stuff. But still, although I've learned a lot just kind of reflecting on this topic as we approach this gathering here today, I realize I don't know anything about what I'm talking about. The more I teach, the less I seem to know. And so I think I mentioned in the brochure there, we'll just discuss this in a playful way, because I'm not saying I know what this is. It's a big topic, right? Divine will versus, I put versus free will, but maybe it's not versus, it's like, really, isn't the goal to align those two? So we are aligned with the divine will. I think that's the goal of this little chat today. So when I think of divine will and free choice and freedom, I always think of 4th of July. Every 4th of July is my least favorite holiday. It's like this time of fireworks and all our pets get traumatized. So we always go out in the woods on 4th of July. But I always kind of get a little bit, I don't know, maybe irritated is the word, or confused, because we got this big celebration for freedom, but are we really free, right? So many of us are aligned with the voice in our head and our ego and all this old programming and fears, and we like to think we're free, and in a way the 4th of July celebration of freedom, I know there's some beautiful history to it perhaps, but it's almost like a distraction from really looking at our life and saying, wow, am I really free? Or am I suffering? Because if we're aligned with the false self, the egoic self, we're not free, we're suffering, in my view. So I think that's what we're kind of going to talk about a little bit here. I think I have a quote here. John Kabat-Zinn, you know, the mindfulness meditation guy, he says, we talk of freedom, but we are a slave to habits of mind, not even in our bodies, let alone our right minds. So we talk about freedom, but just tell someone that's hooked on drugs, just say no, just quit. It's not that easy, right? When I was in India, the teacher, there was this kind of guru we went to, Bhagavan, and I got to ask a question. I said, how do I stop hating and judging myself and others? And he looked at me and said, you're hopeless. He said, you have no hope to do that on your own. It's like, well, what about free choice? And I'm not sure exactly what he meant, but I know these patterns are really deep. I mean, I've tried to stop. I don't know, I'm popping a little bit here. Like say, I have a challenge sometimes judging, and I haven't been able to just use my free choice to stop doing that. It still happens. It's pretty intense, some of this stuff, right? So where is that free choice? There is a free choice, and there's some paradox here, because these things are pretty damn deep, and it might take a little something to jar us out of some of these patterns, right? At the same time, I think it's an amazing time of, while few of us, I would argue, are free, I think more and more people are free. People are waking up. There's a huge shift as prophecy. Many amazing teachers on the planet that are showing us the way to freedom. Let me just think of one that comes to mind, Eckhart Tolle, showing us what a prison the mind can be and the ego and that voice in our head. At the same time, showing us ways out of that, and many people are pulling out of that. I mean, yoga, we got 37 million people doing yoga now, about the same amount of people doing meditation. Just so many amazing teachings and books and teachers. So I think more and more people are getting free as prophecy. That's the energy that we're in right now. It's offering an opportunity to start seeing these programs and the things that keep us in those little bird cages, right? Let's see, where are we going? Here's a quote. I'm reading this book right now by Gina Lake. Anybody hear of her? She's got a book where she channels Jesus, supposedly. So who knows, but some of the stuff in the book is so powerful. But this is supposedly Jesus. Let me know how I'm doing with this. He says, what changes after the illusion of the false self is thoroughly seen through is that you experience yourself as the chooser instead of the false self. Because the false self is choosing, but in a way that doesn't really make us very happy. So you start choosing aligned with the true self. But here's the weird part too. Like our teacher again in India Bhagavan, he said that choice is suffering. And I think what he meant by that is that if you have to try to figure things out with your head, let's see, should I do this? Should I take that job? Should I date this person? Should I eat this food? That's kind of suffering, right? Whereas there's a choiceless choice. When you are really aligned with our true self, it's just the Tao. You're flowing. That's kind of what I'm hinting at, and what makes sense to me. Where you don't have to figure things out. You're aligned with that. I've been in some of those grooves, maybe just for a moment. Has anybody ever had that, where all of a sudden you're not figuring things out, you're flowing? It feels beautiful, doesn't it? So I think that's kind of the goal of what we're talking about here. And we can go back here. You know, we've created what some consider like a program, a software program that we've started to let run the show. I sometimes look at it this way: as if you're driving down the road and you fall asleep, and your daughter grabs the steering wheel and drives you and pulls it over the road, then you wake up, you wouldn't scold her, right? You'd say, thank you, right? But that's what's happened. We kind of checked out, and a smaller self, a false self, our ego took over. The mind's a great tool, but the egoic mind you don't want running your life. So if it does that, we can, instead of scold it with compassion, we can say, wow, thanks for taking over, because I kind of disconnected from my true self, my true voice, my heart, whatever you want to call that. And then we get back on track. Thank the mind for taking over, but start to let a choiceless choice, a true self guide the ship. Does this make sense? So then that it's not divine will versus free will. See, here's where it gets very interesting too, I think, because the divine will is and always has perhaps run the show, whatever you want to call that, the universe, God, whatever, right? But it's kind of a paradox. In that infinite love, this divine self, also divine will, also lets us go astray or choose a little bit different at times, right? Not completely. It's kind of like a river, right? The river's got its own way, right? We're like a little raft there. We can't control the river, but we have a little say, free will about where we're going to steer a little bit, but there's something bigger running the river. We're not going to stop the river, right? So I think that's kind of what's going on. How do we align with that true will? But that loving will does let us make little mistakes and go apparently against divine will, so we can learn a lesson, experience something, like a loving parent. Say, okay, I'll let you do it that way and see what happens. Go ahead and date that guy, see what happens. You know what I mean? So there's a love there. So the divine will is not necessarily in conflict with the smaller self, free will. Oh, here's an example I wrote down. When we were down in Brazil, do you know John of God? Have you heard of John of God, the healer? Oprah did a special on him, and we went to see him twice, in Brazil and in Rhinebeck when he came up here. Anybody know what's going on with John of God right now? Well, he's apparently in jail. 300 women have come forth talking about some things. So isn't this interesting? I think it's a great example of divine will. He has opened up, if you believe this sort of thing, we've witnessed and experienced miracles with him. Amazing healer. Apparently about 37 different beings have worked through him. You know what I mean? He's a trance medium. They come through, all these doctors and beings from the past, come through and work on people. Thousands, millions of people you probably worked on by now. I don't know how many. But a lot of miracles. People line up down there in Brazil, in this little town. And that's beautiful. These beings come through. But he's also allowed free will to do what he wants, and his human self got himself in a little bit of trouble by, I won't go into all the details with women, you can kind of guess. So isn't that interesting? Divine will and opening up to doing very beautiful acts of love and miracles, and doing these horrific things as well. Because that's the game we're in here of polarity. We're allowed to do these things, but the big clue, I think, is if it causes you suffering, that's when you might say, well, I had free will to do that, but do I want to continue doing this? Causing myself and others pain. So very interesting, isn't it? It's quite a game we sign up for here. Very interesting. But these beings that were helping with the miracles, they didn't stop them from doing these atrocious things, because that's part of the game here, free will. It seems to me. So let's see. Yeah, here's what Rumi says. My life is not mine. So this is that choiceless choice. Again, our teacher in India would say it's all happening automatically on some level. So then it gets, see, we're going back and forth here between choice and no choice. But Rumi says, my life is not mine. So that's when you surrender to that bigger intelligence. And there's not much struggle with decisions at that point, it would seem to me. So let's see, I wrote down a bunch of choices here. The rest of my time here, I'd like to share some choices. There's some big choices we have in every moment. But here's some, I think maybe about a dozen I wrote down here of important possible choices to play with in our life, right? And the first one I wrote down here is, it's kind of like this. Here's one way of looking at it, is that the divine or God or the universe, whatever, obviously wants to experience what's going on, because that's what's going on. In other words, the divine maybe chooses to create this immense game of different planets and different beings to experience everything. You, Nora, are different from Liz and each person, right? There's this thing called astrology, right? Where if you're born at 208 versus 209, you're aligned a little different with the stars, and you're got a maybe different horoscope and all that. And we're all different, so we come in with these different personalities and tendencies, obviously not by mistake. So what is our choice in this? Our choice is, I would say we probably chose that. When we're going to come in, what parents, that's my belief. So we can experience something different, this spark of the divine. That's a big choice. So our choice at that point, after we know that, what good does that do is that we can say, okay, I can surrender to this role I'm playing here and play with these tendencies and lessons, or I could resist it and just let the ego play the game. You see what I mean? Does that make any sense? There's a choice in there, right? It's kind of like we did improv. We went to improv about a month ago, and what do they do there is you try not to think too much, and you go with the flow. I'm playing a role, like we're all playing a role as human beings, but we're more than that, right? We can lose ourselves and say, oh, just let the ego play the role and try to control everything and see if people like me and all that. Or we could say, okay, I'm playing this role as a human being with this type of body and stuff, and I can kind of surrender to that and play a game to the best of my ability and let the divine live through that, this creation. Does that make sense? That's kind of a fun way to look at this as well. So you see, doesn't that sound a little easier? It's like trusting the universe created me in this body, this life, this personality, so I may as well just have fun and play it the best I can, not get identified with it. Does this make sense? These are fun ways, I think, of looking at all this. So that's the first one to play around with. And then I've got a few more here. Next choice is to be here, just to be here fully. We went to Mount Con, right, recently, and that's what we talked about, right? Just being here fully embodied. This is a biggie, right? We have a choice. A lot of us know how to escape out the crown chakra and or distract on our computers or our gadgets or our TV or our beer or ice cream. There's a million distractions, right? But a big choice is to start to say, wow, what if I start to really just be fully here, embodied now? That's a very important choice for the planet, I think. I think a lot of us are floating around the universe and not dealing with what's going on in our very own body. So anyway, that's I think a very important choice we can play with. And again, all these are just practice with fun, right? It's not like you've got to do this. They're all going to be imperfect. The next one I wrote down here is to see, to be willing to see. Again, our teacher in India would say, to see is to be free. To start to see. Again, we distract so much, we don't want to really look at what's going on, do we? We don't want to really see. No, I don't want to see that. I might have to change something. So start to see the ego constructions and the behaviors and the patterns, the grooves we get stuck in. And start to just witness that. Witness our shadow. That's a biggie, right? Start to witness those parts of ourselves that are very interesting. We don't want to look at those too much, right? We project them out. We see them in others pretty well. That person's, well, buggered. We're doing that with our president very well right now, right? We're not taking our projection back. That person is, my mother did that on September 11th. She said, I hate people who hate. Oh, that's very revealing. The next one I wrote down is to, this is the biggie, right? Love what is. Love what is. Here's one from that same book, Jesus quote. One of the most important choices you can make is to choose to believe that the experience you are having is the right experience.
Yes.
That's kind of a leap of faith. That's pretty important. But that's a big one. How many teachers, Agya Shanti, Byron Katie, Eckhart Tolle, Bhagavan, many teachers talk about the sure way to suffer is to argue with life and fight against life. What is, it is. It doesn't mean you can't work to try to change it, but do it first from accepting and non-resistance, right? So that's a big decision. I'm not, all these things I'm not saying I'm good at, by the way. How's my popping doing? I'm popping a little bit? Not too bad? Down, lower, huh? Okay. She's my mic guy over there. So there's a choice there, right? You could say, oh, he's popping like, or you could say, hey, lower the mic. So anyway, let's see, where was I?
Choosing to be here.
Well, let's see, we went past that one. We're doing wrong one. Yeah, loving what is, accepting what is. That's a huge one, of course, but that's a sure way to suffer less. Okay, the next one I wrote is to open up and trust. Of course, there was somebody on our retreat. That's one I talked about last week. And speaking of control, she was trying to control a lot of things out of fear. And I said, a couple times I said, can you trust? And she said, I can't trust. I was like kind of sad, right? But there's some, I know it doesn't feel like a choice. Some of us got hurt, so we're going to try to control everything. So there's a balance in there of choosing to give up some of the illusion of egoic control, I guess you can put it. Here's again from that book. Jesus, you cannot know or understand the workings of the vast intelligence behind life, capital I intelligence, but know that the intelligence is unfolding life perfectly regardless of how it may look. Know this, believe this, and bring this understanding to each moment, and your life will be transformed. Wow, isn't that powerful? We fight against everything. This, what was that? One person, I can't remember, who went to the guru and said, how do you stay so happy and ignoring all this amazing pain and struggle and war in our world? And he said, that's your world, not mine. So there's a choice there, right? What do you choose? To completely lose ourselves in the facts of the headlines, or maybe think, maybe there's something else going on. Maybe there is something else. And focusing on that, and therefore maybe helping co-create that. Right? That's a big choice. Okay, how are we doing? I'm going to give you a few more. Have you got some energy? Are we okay? Yeah? Is this interesting or helpful at all? Yeah? I think it's an interesting topic. Okay, the next one I wrote down, I got about 5 more. Raise our energy vibration. I think some of us are so used to what has been familiar, a very low energy vibration. You know what I mean by that? We got kind of contracted and dense and had our hearts kind of imprisoned like that thing. And we got very used to that. It feels, quote, normal. So it takes a little bit of courage. There's a choice to say, you know, I'm I'm going to stretch my comfort zone a little bit. I'm going to open up. I'm going to just raise that vibration, and it might mean I'm a little more bright and a little more noticeable. Ouch, that's scary, right? Because some of us are carrying memories and trauma from how many had parents that said, simmer down, or don't be so bright, or who are you to sing that song? Or past lives where we were burned at the stake for speaking our truth or being a healer. So we got these things in our DNA and stuff, so it takes a little courage to start to say, you know, it's a little safer now. The vibration on the planet is lifting. I'm going to lift my vibration and stand a little taller and start to follow my joy and stuff and see what happens. I mean, it's a little safer. Plus, what kind of life is it in the cage where we just say, well, I'm safe here. Nobody's noticing me. I'm fitting in with this very low, contracted vibration on the planet. Does this make sense? That's a big leap of faith there, to start to lift your own vibration. The next one is, all these are kind of similar, right? Different way, but be true to yourself. Be true to your truth, your intuition. Our intuition has gotten buried with the noise in our head, which overrides it, right? The heart gets buried with the, you should do this. No, my father was a doctor. I'm going to be a doctor even though I hate this job. You know what I mean? So that takes a lot of courage too, to choose, okay, I'm going to follow my own inner voice, heart, intuition. Let's see, next one. Conscious creations, choosing to see ourselves as volunteers rather than victims. That's, Joseph Campbell talked about that. It changes everything. From, oh, what a bad luck and bad parents I got and bad time on the planet, to, wow, what an opportunity. I chose to be here right now. It's not an accident. See how these all tie in. Trust, open. Here's a channeling, a group called The Team. Beautiful channelings. Again, channeling is kind of weird to some of us, but some of the stuff that's coming through right now, these people are kind of opening up, some of it's so profound. This group called The Team, a woman, Peggy Black from Santa Cruz, channels them. They send a monthly thing out. It's really good. You can look it up, Peggy Black. Anyway, they say, you are creating at every moment of your life, so begin to ask the question, is what I am saying, claiming, and focusing upon something that I want to experience? So a conscious creation, a volunteer rather than a victim. Changes everything, right? Let's see a couple more here. I already talked about this. Taking the steering wheel back from our egoic mind, I talked about that. Here's The Team again. They said, you are a master who simply has dropped into the illusion of being powerless. That's all this is, right? We've fallen into this illusion that we're be little insignificant, powerless human beings. We're God's embodied, in my view, right? Choose to see that and play with that, right? A couple more. What is it? Free choice to pray and ask for help, right? If there's free will, it doesn't mean we have to do it ourselves. There's a very powerful thing. The message I've gotten over and over and heard is that that in a planet of free choice, we can't get help imposed upon us. But we have a free choice to ask for help, and that gives certain guides and things freedom to come serve and help us. And it seems to me they like that. Can I get a little woo-woo for a second? It's Unity Church, is it not? Well, this is my understanding. It's a little weird, but over and over I've heard this from different sources that I trust. Things have been coming in different ways. The information now, these channels, the veil thinning. But what we've heard over and over is we've got to save our own ass. We've kind of beat up the planet. I probably shouldn't be using words. I'm in a church here, aren't I?
We're all adults.
But we have to save our own butt, but we can ask for help. And what I'm understanding, again, a little weird, but is that we've gotten help so that there will not be a nuclear catastrophe. Nothing real. There was the Japan thing, but we're getting some help on that, some protection, because there's a shift going on. We're moving out of that disempowered state, so we're helping ourselves. But part of that is we're receiving help from the universe, which wants to help us. So just kind of just kind of consider that possibility, that we're getting a lot of help, and to move out of that fear, because a lot of people I know are losing themselves in the headlines, right? It's like, wow, they just feel we're doomed, but the polarities are both lighting up right now with the increased energy, so it's making the bad, like Eckhart Tolle says, the bad are making the headlines, and the worse is getting worse, but the better is going to outdo that. There's more light, the dark disappears when light shows up, and everything's getting lit up right now. Wow. Two more big ones, love our neighbor and love ourselves. There is a big choice. It's a hard one, as I mentioned earlier, but we've got to do that. We've got a long pattern of beating ourselves up. And like Cryan says in some more channelings, that the light workers are often the worst at that, because we've been burned at the stake so many times for being the weird one, that we've got this deep ingrained something's wrong with me. So that's a tough one to start to say, wait a minute, is it time that I start to choose to accept myself and have compassion for myself and love myself and really start to honor myself? It's time. It's really hard to get it if we don't give it to ourselves, right? And the last one I wrote here is to celebrate now. Here's the Tagore quote: "Faith is the bird that feels the night and sings while the dawn is still dark." So it's still dark right now. It's maybe darker, like I said, the dark is getting really shown under the light. You know, the Catholic Church, you look at one, every day there's something else, right? The Me Too. There's so much light that it's shining lights under every rock. So we can get caught looking under the rocks instead of looking at the light that's shining under the rock. So it's real important for various reasons, because it feels good for one, it lifts our own vibration, it lifts the collective vibration. So start to celebrate. These guys, the prophecies that they talked about, which got buried in the fear-mongering, oh, we're going down, Y2K, something else to be afraid of, it's getting worse, look at this, look at that. Or we could say, wow, they were talking about an opportunity, a choice point at this time, and all my guidance is saying that we are going to do it, that we are already past the point of all these prophecies about how we're going to beat out or destroy the planet and each other. We're already beyond that to a certain point. Who knows what's going to happen? But my heart is saying that we can celebrate because we turn the corner and that we're starting to awaken and we're hitting a critical mass. That's not in the headlines, but go to the heart. The heart has much more recent information, accurate information. So I think I'm going to leave it with that. I hope that's interesting or helpful, something to reflect on at least. So really nice being with you. Thanks for having us, and blessings to you all. Should I turn this guy off?
Sure to come.
So now it's time for our offering and the candle lighting. So as you're preparing your tithes and love offerings today, think about how blessed you are, and as you're writing your check or giving your gift, send out your blessing.
I am so grateful for all that I am. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I am. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for
divine love in and through me,
blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I am, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God.
Now it's time for good news. So, who wants to be the first to tell us about some good news? Cindy has some good news.
Alrighty, let's see, first things first, what is first things first? Let's see, Minette Fest is coming up on September 7th. We did a casual, hands up if people are gonna participate. Now, I have a sign-up sheet, so please sign up to let us know who'll be here. We've coordinated some efforts. We're gonna have all day, pretty much all day, we're gonna have concerts. David Duvall will be here. Our new musician that we'll be seeing next Sunday, Dallas Talley. He's gonna participate. We've got Michael Gregory. I reached out to Aaron. He sends his love, but he's in Colorado right now. But that's why, we get to see him on the screen. We love our Aaron. Leo Brody, I've reached out to him, haven't heard back yet. We're gonna have concerts, we're gonna have booths, we're gonna maybe do popcorn, so we need help, so please, here and a booth down the street for the main event. So yeah, getting the word out, sharing some music, having some fun, please sign up.
So when David's performing, are we gonna have the sand and the beach scenes?
Only if you wanna clean that up.
Oh, no.
She's gonna bring it too.
What?
She's gonna bring it too.
She's gonna bring it too.
Well, I guess we'll just have to have the screens going.
We can just, envision it in
Yes.
our mind. We can have those, sandy beaches and the waves crashing.
Okay, sounds.
Let's clean
So
up
Mark's
that way.
gonna have to be here with the technology and
Oh,
making the
yes.
sounds.
Yes,
Okay.
we will be here, but we need more help, so please sign up.
Any other good news? Okay, then I guess it's time to join hands and sing our peace song.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as creator, then we all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. The light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, and the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is.